The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. I'm Chris Brinkley. Coach, congratulations on another Ohio Valley Conference Tournament Championship.
We're fortunate. We're excited. Never gets old to watch those kids celebrate.
Fourth in 4 years.
Who would have thought 4 years ago, sitting in this room recruiting, or 5 years ago, recruiting a lot of those kids that were out there that we would be able to do that. You can't imagine that you could have something like that happen that quickly.
You know, and I was thinking, too, on the drive over here today, that each tournament championship was different in the way you got there and in the way it all unfolded.
Probably the first two were the most similar because the team was the most similar. But after that, it was very different. You know, that first one was one type, and then the second was kind of close, but we were a little different type of team. But then the next 2 years have been totally different. Players' style have been different, so it's rewarding to have been able to win it with different methods.
Going into this tournament, the Skyhawks with three seniors who, as we had talked about, probably had more experience in the tournament than any other OVC player just because you had played so many games. The rest of your team had almost no experience whatsoever in tournament play.
Katie was the only other one that had played, and
She was just a sophomore.
Right, and we were a little nervous about some of that, but, you know, you got to win basketball games, essentially, and we also had some experience. You know, Elizabeth Massengale had been in state tournaments. She knew what was at stake. Asia Jones had been in state tournaments. She knew what was at stake. So, I mean, there were some players there with some tournament experience. It just wasn't OVC or college. And I thought our freshman class played really, really well in the tournament. I thought Shay was solid on the press and causing people problems and doing some things defensively to help us and getting some junk baskets. And Asia had two big games. And then Massengale and Caldwell also played really, really well. So I thought that freshman group, the experience didn't seem to scare them at all.
Not at all. And as a matter of fact, your first game was against Eastern Kentucky. That was a Friday game as the Skyhawks got the double bye by being the #1 seed in the tournament. You were facing Eastern Kentucky, which could have caused some matchup problems. They have one of the league's top players in Marie Carpenter. And I kind of thought Eastern Kentucky would have a slight advantage over you early in the game only because they had played on the Wednesday and Thursday prior to you playing. Coach, your team came out on a 22-0 run to start the game.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. You know, I thought that Eastern would be more loose and more familiar with the surroundings, and a lot of times when a team plays the day before and a team has a bye, that it'll take the team that had a bye about 8 or 10 minutes to kind of get going,
especially offensively.
Yes, and we came out of the gates and were playing really well. We were intense defensively. We were getting after it, and it was very, very impressive from our kids and their focus and what they were trying to get accomplished. So very, very pleased with that performance. That may be the most dominating overall performance that we've put in all year.
From a tournament standpoint, I think it was the largest margin of victory ever in a tournament game.
Well, part of that is, you know, Eastern's having to play their third game in 3 days, and once it's like, I mean, once you run out of gas, you run out of gas, and it looked to me like they were tired. Especially after about the 10-minute mark of the first half. I know they didn't make any shots early, but that was very similar to what we did to them, or they did to us the year before. And they started out 14-0. So about the 10-minute mark, I thought I could see that they got tired, and then in the second half, you could see that 3 games in 3 days just wore them out.
One of the things that helped you knew if you won this game and played in the championship, that if you had a big lead, you could rest some of your players, and you had an opportunity to rest the starters late in this game.
Well, I don't think anybody played more than 30 minutes, and we were able to sit and rotate in some different groups, which kept us kind of going, our rhythms, you know, on offense and defense. And then anytime you play 2 games in 2 days, you want as much rest as you can get. I mean, your adrenaline's going to kick in that championship game, and probably not going to be a major factor, but you just try to take care of all the little things, and getting a lot of rest was one of them.
As a broadcaster, you always look at the X factor, something that happens that you might not expect to happen, but is possible, and it happened. Charisma Tyson came in off the bench. She hits 3 3-pointers, had 10 points, and played well defensively, too.
Yeah, she really has played well the last few weeks, and that's the charisma that we thought we were going to get all year, and she has not done that. But The last 2 or 3 weeks, she started playing a lot better, a lot more focused, and she did. She came in and bang, 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 and was making shots and flying around defensively, chased somebody down. And if she does that with her length, she gives us another rebounder, another defender out there that can help offset some of our size issues.
Coach, you get the win over Eastern Kentucky. You advance to the championship game where you face Belmont. And what were some of the issues that Belmont or challenges Belmont presented to you going into that game?
Well, they're huge.
Right.
They can go 6'5", 6'4", 6'2", 6'2", if they want to. They have changed their style since we played them the last time, and not totally changed their style. They just kind of changed their personnel a little bit, and their guards could handle the ball. And we turned them over early the first time we played, and then didn't turn them over a lot after that. So, they're a very complete team. They're probably more complete than we are. We're very guard oriented. They're probably more balanced than we are. They have a lot of different kids that can score, which you see by they put 4 or 5 kids in double figures against us. But you just wondered defensively what they were going to do, and they came out with a pretty good plan, and then we just wondered, could we turn them over and get them into our style of a game, and we really never did.
Close game. First half was close. Second half, they cut it to 7 late in the game a couple times. Again, Charisma Tyson comes in and might hit the shot of the game at the end of the first half when she knocks down a three-pointer at the buzzer in a play that was coming right out of a timeout, right?
Well, it was a dead ball. It was kind of a crazy last few seconds because we had the ball, lost it, or missed a shot or something. They got it, came back, got a foul call. So we had a few seconds, and we subbed in Charisma
right.
and kind of got everybody where we needed them to be. And Jasmine had 4.5, 5 seconds, which she had, knew that she could get to the rim. She did it last year against Eastern Illinois in the semifinals to send against Tech to send a game into overtime. So we knew there was plenty of time, and we put 4 shooters out there with Jasmine. So if they cover the shooters, she's going to the rim. If they don't cover the shooter, she can kick it to the shooter, and that's what happened. They sloughed in because she was going to get to the rim for a layup.
She didn't necessarily specifically pick Charisma. It was just the open player had an opportunity to get the ball.
Yeah, it was supposed
I'm trying to give you a lot of credit.
Well, you don't need to because it was supposed to be Katie.
Okay.
But Katie was running around in circles, and so all I could do was get her out of the way to the other side, and it ended up being Chris. But you don't really want somebody to come off the bench and have to shoot it. That's tough. But I wanted her out there in case. But I wanted Katie because Katie was fresh, and I wanted Katie over there. Well, Katie was halfway to the other side of the floor, and they started handling the ball, and I just told her to move over and get out of the way because I knew Butler on her side would be open. The open side with Butler would be covered. So we thought Katie on the other side would be the one we wanted. Well, it ended up being Tyson, and she made it. And it was a big shot, really big shot.
It was, and there were some big shots late in this game. They cut it to 7 a couple times, but again, boy, that senior leadership really makes a difference. There was a point in the game when Jasmine took over and scored several points in a row. Heather hit some big shots, too.
Yeah, when they cut it to 7 in the second half, I thought the key in the second half was, well, there were a lot of keys. Butler made a couple of threes to answer some things that they did. She hit one right out of the gate to start the second half, which I thought was big. But Elizabeth Massengale in the high post, defensively, they just gave us the high post. They just said, around the free throw line, we're just not going to guard it. And the first half, we kind of flirted around with doing some things with it, but found Jasmine was able to do her thing, so we didn't worry about it. When the second half, they kind of made a little adjustment to that, and so we put Elizabeth Maskey on the high post, and I think she had 8 points, all 8 in the second half, and it was all out of that high post area. She dished one down to Caldwell, who laid it up, and it was all during this little stretch where they were making a little bit of a run, and by her, she would just come down and score. They'd go down and score, we'd come down and score, they'd go down and score, we'd come down and score. So
when you got a lead, that's okay.
Every time, yeah, we didn't care. But she made some really, really big plays for us out of that high post. And, she's a kid that walking off the court, I think the next to last game of the season, I was talking to her, and she said, I've just never been able to figure out how to play with Butler and Newsom, how to plug in together and make us do this. She goes, I'm so used to having players figure out how to do that with me. And I thought, that's a mature statement.
Right.
From a freshman to know, I just haven't quite figured it out. Well, when teams go zone, and I can put her in the high post, that doesn't matter anymore because there's a role in there for her to do that Butler and Newsom have to kind of play around that high post player,
yeah.
and she understands that. And so when Eastern Kentucky went to some zone, and so did Belmont, it gave Elizabeth a chance to relax a little bit and do her thing. And you saw how good she could be.
3 for 3 from the field. Well, I remember one shot attempt they gave her, and she hesitated and then took a dribble and then made the shot. So the hesitancy was there a little bit, but once she settled down, she played her role well.
Yeah, she really did. And that's a Tennessee girl that's won championships, that knows what tournaments are about, and that's why I thought she and Asia wouldn't be that rattled from a tournament because they've both done it.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll talk about the NCAA tournament when we return with Coach Kevin McMillan.
At this time, we would like to thank our basketball corporate donors. Carey Insurance, Dynamix, Parker Hannafin, State Farm, Surgical Associates of Martin, Vans Institutional Pharmacy, Walmart.
Back on the Coach Kevin McMillan show here as the Skyhawks are set to be in the big dance for the 4th time in a row. Coach, before we talk about the possibilities, what a great crowd at Municipal Auditorium supporting UT Martin.
I thought in the 4 years that we've been up there, I don't think that we've had crowd. Our crowd has been the biggest every year, and we played Tech in the finals 3 times, and we had bigger crowds than them. And then Belmont, who had the men and the women playing, and Belmont's out of Nashville, and our crowd, covered them up around the top, so to speak, and really, really good crowd. The thing about our crowd that's a little bit strange, though, is when they get out of Martin, all of a sudden they get vocal and they're going nuts and cheering, and so it's really neat. I think we're going to schedule home games in Jackson and Dyersburg next year to try to get in Paris to try to get some.
They were a little bit louder, Coach. So now you go to the big dance. Now we've spent a lot of time in the last 3 years or 4 years now speculating on where you would play and what all this is all about. Your thoughts on where you will play, who you might play, and what your seed might be.
Well, I'm going to have to go with my son's thoughts,
okay,
because he is the expert in this.
Now he's an 8th grader, right?
He's an 8th grader,
but he's been following this since he was in the 5th grade.
Yes,
okay.
And he is pretty effective with it. And we were talking the other day after the tournament, and I said, Matt, we're probably going to be 14 or 15. He said, no, can't be. And I'm like, what do you mean can't be? Here's my 8th grade son. He said, no, there's 12 teams. There's 12 conferences whose best team in the conference's RPI is a lot higher than ours. And I went, really? He goes, yeah. So he made me look at it with him. And he's right.
Wow.
There are. And so that would take care of the 16s, the 15s, and the 14s. So Matt's theory is that we're going to be a 13 seed. And it's a pretty decent theory if you go just off the RPI. We have a very good case for being a 13 or a 12. We have wins over top 100 teams. I think we've got 3 wins over top 100
You're
teams.
3-3, I was told, against teams in the top 100 RPI.
And so that's going to be a factor. We've got a run here of 16 out of 17, and they always go with how you finish your season.
With 7 100-point games in that stretch.
And I think that the fact that we've been there 4 years in a row, even though they say it doesn't matter, I think it matters when you hear a team over and over and over. I think that's a psychological thing that's going to matter. We've got 2 players that arguably would make stories for the game, whichever game that would be. So there's some argument there to get a 13 or 12, but we've also got argument to push us back towards a 14 or 15. And it's actually the best argument, and that's our conference. Your conference RPI is a big deal. Well, our conference's RPI is 30th out of 33 or 32. So we are a 16 seed league if you took them just by RPI.
I don't like that argument. Yeah, but you can't control that.
No, you can't, but that is a huge factor. That's why they told us 2 years ago that we were a 15 and went and played Tennessee versus being a 14.
Right.
I mean, we argued there were two teams that got 14 seeds that had RPIs higher than ours, but their league RPIs were lower
Right.
than ours, and so that's how they justified it. I mean, I think they put us up there to play Tennessee because it was Tennessee and Pat Summitt. They thought it was going to be our last season. It was a good story, and I don't have a problem with that. But just tell me that.
Yeah.
You know, don't justify it with all this stuff. Say, look, coach, I'm sorry, you're at 14, 15. You're not going to win anyway, so we're just going to put you here so we can have a good story. I may not like it, but at least I can live with the truth. But there's a chance we're going to be a 13. There's a chance we could be a 12.
Right.
There really is a chance that we could be a 12 seed, and that's all the mid majors are praying for 11s and 12s. That's where your upsets are. 13s are some, not a lot. 14, 15, 16, they're not. So it also is going to depend on what happens in the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. If a team, let's say Kentucky ends up being a 3 seed, and they have us penciling in at a 13, well, the 3 seed Kentucky's going to play a 14. Well, they could look at us and say, we're just going to bump you to 14 and send you to Lexington because it's closer.
And that is save money.
Yes, and that is a real possibility.
Yeah.
You don't like it. You wish they wouldn't do that, but that's a possibility.
You've said before you like to go somewhere you've never been before, and maybe play a team you haven't seen before.
Well, I would love to play teams that don't know anything about us, and I would love, you know, any time that when we recruit our kids, we want them to go do things that they would never do before. So I would love to go somewhere that we've never been, so that the kids have another experience. In order to win as a mid-major, I was talking to my good friend at Marist, who won his 9th straight conference title to go to his 9th straight NCAA tournament, which is kind of amazing. But he said there's just such a long list of things that have to happen for the mid-majors. And one of them, you have to get the right seed. Then you have to have the right matchup. Then you have to get off their home floor. Then you have to play well, and they have to play average.
Yeah.
And that's why, that's why you don't see a lot of upsets, because 5 things have to happen. And there's more than that, but those 5 that I just named.
It's a little different. Men's basketball is different because they're usually always on a neutral site.
So you're always on a neutral site, so you don't have to worry about that. The talent level is closer together because the men have set their scholarships in such a way so that they are going to be closer. So that stuff's out of the question. So you don't have to have as many things happen to get upsets in the men's game, which is why you see so many more. The women's game, if we would do what the men have done, we would end up with a lot more upsets. But the powers that be don't want to do that.
The selection show is the 17th, is that right? March 17th.
Monday night.
And that's always fun because you sit there and you're just like everybody else. You don't know anything until it's announced on television.
No, it is fun, and we've always had great crowds for it. And we were upstairs meeting before this, and the T-shirt came across that they're going to do, and it's really neat. It's got a 4 on the back, and it talks about the seniors and the championships, and so it's really really neat. And so we'll have those, and well, I'll get you one.
Okay, I would like that.
Then we got some pulls.
Yeah,
So we can
okay.
find one.
I would like that.
But and we're going to be in the Student Life Center,
No, we're at the Student Life Center.
which is the old gym
Right.
behind the football stadium, and they'll be streaming it. So, it's a great time for us to kind of mingle with the fans and spend a little time with them. But the crazy thing is once it's over and everybody goes home,
Oh, and you go to
we
work.
all go to work. Yeah, we all go. Okay, now we've got to do da 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 da, and but you want to have all of that pressure and those sleepless nights. I mean, that's what you prepare 11 months out of the year for, is for that opportunity. And we're fortunate, very very fortunate, to have that chance again. And we've said it all year, Chris. We're all spoiled, and we've been spoiled for 4 years. And these seniors have spoiled us one more time. And it's just a great tribute that they're going to get to go play once again in the NCAA tournament. And I was watching the Pac-12 championship game, and Oregon State and USC were in it. I mean, Oregon State, USC, and one of them was playing for their first chance to go to the NCAA tournament since the 90s, and the other one was playing for their first chance to go since the 80s.
Wow.
And little bitty UT Martin over here in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, have been 4 straight times. I mean, I would bet you could look at the 330 schools in the country and find how many have gone 4 straight.
No.
You're going to go Stanfords and UConns, but once you get through that first 25 teams or so, I bet you the list is very, very small. And that's how fortunate we are, and what a blessing it's been for us for the last 4 years.
I got a quick little funny story, and we'll get out of here. We interviewed Jasmine after the game, after the championship game. She's a senior now and has done this since her freshman year. And I just asked her, are you tired at all this year? Because you didn't have to play as much as you did last year, having to win all those games in a row and play all those minutes. And she said, yeah, I'm kind of tired. I'm old now. She said, I'm old now.
Old now.
Yeah. But it just tells you that the maturation process has taken place in the last 4 years. And it's a whole different ball game for those 4 seniors, or 3 seniors, and then Tabitha, because they've been there and done that. And they may appreciate it more this year than they ever did.
They probably do. Because it's their last opportunity, and they want to, go out as good as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't have it in front of me. I'll check with you later, Alex. But how many records they broke this year? How many records they've broken in their career?
Mm-hmm.
How high have they set the standard for women's basketball in the OVC? How high they've set the standard for basketball here at UT Martin? What's the expectations? I mean, you're talking about 3 kids. I think, and I could mess this up, I think they've got a 3.5, 3.6, and 3.8 GPA.
Wow.
I mean, just keep going down, and Tab's got a 3.2, and I mean, just keep going down the list of things that they've achieved, and it's just, All-Americans, Nate Smith, I mean, Wade Trophy finalist, I mean, just on and on and on, and it's great to see them get recognized one more time because they're so deserving.
Absolutely.
And on and off the floor. They've been great ambassadors for this university, and I think that probably the last time that we talk about them, whenever that is, we may have to have some type of 6-hour show, and we're going to try to do them justice.
Okay.
So,
It'll be a mini-series.
Yeah, it'll be a mini-series on
The 5-night Coach McMillan mini-series.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
If you can make it to the selection show, it's Monday the 17th. If you can't, stream it and watch it while you're watching the selection show on ESPN. For Coach Kevin McMillan, I'm Chris Brinkley. Thanks for watching.
The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. Thank you for your support of UT Martin basketball.